like to call to order the public hearing at the Riverton Community Unit School District number 14 of January 13, 2019. Roll call, please.
Mr. Betts?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Churchill? Present. Ms. Collins?
Here.
Ms. Couple?
Here.
Ms. Hartlaw? Present. Ms. Rudder?
Here. I hereby open the public hearing concerning the intent of the Board of Education of the Community Unit School District 14, Sangamon County, Illinois, to sell $4.1 million in working cash fund bonds and $5.5 million in general obligation bonds. The reason for the proposed issuance of the working cash fund bonds is to increase the working cash fund of the district. At this time, are there any additional comments from members of the Board of Education? We will now accept any written testimony concerning the proposal of the issuance of the working cash fund bonds or the general obligation bonds. We will now accept oral testimony or any public comments concerning the proposed issuance of the working cash fund bonds or the general obligation bonds. All persons desiring to be heard have been given an opportunity to present oral and written testimony with respect to the proposed issuance of the working cash fund bonds and the general obligation bonds. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the hearing. Motion by Ms. Brown, second by Ms. Rudder. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Couple?
Yes.
Ms. Hartlaw?
Yes.
Ms. Rudder?
Yes. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of January 13th, the Riverton Community Unit School District. The mission of the Riverton Community Unit School District is to create a nurturing environment where we challenge our students to reach their highest potential. Roll call, please.
Mr. Betts?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Churchill?
Present.
Ms. Collins?
Here.
Ms. Couple?
Here.
Ms. Hartlaw?
Present.
Ms. Rudder?
Here.
Ms. Cusimano Rossi?
Here. Say the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Highlights and recognition of visitors.
One highlight from the last month is we had a bit of a break over the holidays. The high school boys basketball team were the St. Teresa tournament champions this year, which is the second year in a row. They are competing in the county tournament beginning tomorrow, and we have the 1 seed in that, so congratulations to them. And then I'd also like to welcome our representatives, Patrick and Leslie from Lincoln Land, who will be presenting here very shortly. You're up.
Well, I'll just introduce myself. I'm not going to talk a whole lot tonight because I've been coughing, as you guys may have noticed already. I'm Dr. Leslie Frederick. I'm the Vice President of Student Services out at Lincoln Land Community College, and I work with our outreach centers, our high schools, on concurrent enrollment programming, including programs like College Now that we're going to share with you. So I'm going to turn it over to Patrick, let him introduce himself.
Absolutely. My name is Patrick Moore. I'm the Director of Concurrent Enrollment at Lincoln Land. So various high school programs I oversee, including dual credit, first semester, and of course College Now, which we're going to elaborate on shortly.
Jump in there. Let's do it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Sorry, it's just,
You're fine.
I am
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
I apologize. So we won't keep you too long, but again, on behalf of Lincoln Land, we do want to thank you for allowing us to come in and to address everyone this evening. So looking at the College Now program, first addressing what the program is in and of itself. The College Now program, as you see there, is a program, it provides opportunities for high school students at our Lincoln Land locations, so at our various locations. In this particular case, the Riverton program would take place at our Springfield campus at our main location. So along with that, not only are the classes held there, but these are credit-bearing classes. The tuition and fees that are being charged depend upon the current semester. Right now, our tuition rate, I believe, is right around $142.50 per credit hour.
141.50.
Well, $141.50.
141.50. Just did the math for you.
Okay. And generally, with the College Now courses, as you see there, they're general education courses. We try to be very intentional with our design of the program, which I'll elaborate on in just a moment here. But there are also options for CTE options in terms of courses as well. So again, we can take a look at what's being offered, what the interests are on your behalf, and then again, structuring a program to fit the needs within you guys' community here. The difference between dual credit and college now, one of the biggest differences is that, of course, the location. So with the dual credit courses, they're offered through the high school by high school instructors versus the College Now program is offered at our location, and the students will be able to receive instruction from our faculty, again, at our Springfield location in this particular case. Also, in terms of another difference with it, obviously, being that there is tuition that students would be responsible for, students and their families or school districts, versus through dual credit, because with dual credit, the difference being the instruction and the high school instructors who are approved to teach dual credit, that obviously those fees are being covered by the high school district already. So the instruction on behalf of our professors would be one of the biggest differences as to why the tuition would be included there. Some examples of the courses that are offered right now here at Riverton would be, there are 5 courses there. You see Bio 101. There's 2 English courses, also Spanish and math. So some of the advantages with the College Now program, obviously there's a more authentic experience being at our location on campus. I can talk a little bit about the Rochester program right now. Students are growing familiar with how to transition from one course to the other. And I also think one thing that we probably want to elaborate on a little bit more would be the fact that they are receiving direct connections in the sense of other resources and programs that are offered at the college, such as our TRIO program. That's something that we open up to first-generation college students. So those who may be entering into the college round for the first time would have an opportunity to connect with that particular department on campus, which provides a tremendous amount of resources and mentoring to students throughout the semester so that they're successful as well. Also in terms of our program through the library, in the sense of academic services for peer tutoring, other sorts of opportunities just to help them in the sense of their grades and performing well and making sure that they're successful. Our Center for Academic Success is there for them as well.
I think one of the other advantages with the graphic that we have there is through opportunities in concurrent enrollment, whether it's dual credit, with the addition of College Now, really helps students accelerate their access to college education, which helps keep their overall college costs down. We hear a lot in the news these days about the rising soaring cost of college, and college debt, and all of those kinds of things. The students leaving college with thousands and thousands, and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt if they've gone into a professional program like being a physician or something like that, or an attorney. And so by these kinds of programs, it helps kind of keep those costs contained and get some of the access earlier so that they have those credit hours to accelerate into pursuing that bachelor's degree and either having little debt or no debt, potentially, depending on, there are seek scholarships and other kinds of opportunities at those four-year schools as they've completed high school and whatever might be remaining through the community college work, through the associate's degree. It really helps defray a lot of those college costs. So it makes college access more affordable and accessible to a lot of students who maybe otherwise wouldn't have that access.
And then I think also a benefit to this program would be students who are, in their senior year, who they come out there for this program. They'd also not only have the access to, again, TRIO or the Center for Academic Success, but also to our student success coaches, as well as our folks in our student transitions department, because we do know a lot of the students who would be going through this program, they would have ambitions even beyond Lincoln Land. And so transitioning them and making sure that they're able to get into that other university that they want to go on into beyond Lincoln Land, us teaming together to make sure that we provide them with the support that they need so that they are successful enough to, again, do those transfers to where they would like to go. And so some of the other districts in which the College Now program is already underway, you'll see a list of a few there. Rochester is the only school there now that currently has the program set up at our main campus. So what would it look like, as I kind of included a little bit earlier? It would include seniors here at Riverton High School, those who would be selected on behalf of your staff and administration, looking to begin fall 2020. And of course, offering 2 courses each semester. As you'll see, I'll jump down just for a moment there to the very bottom in the sense of examples of types of courses that could be offered. So introduction to psychology, there's also speech, which is a very big course that is pretty much across the board going to take care of a requirement as students go on their way towards their college degree. Also intro to humanities as well as art appreciation. Again, those are just a few examples of some courses that can be offered. I'll give you another example in the case of me teaching intro to sociology. That's something that I've been teaching for a few years out at Lincoln Land to traditional college students who come out in the evening time. But this past semester in the fall, I taught one section for the Rochester students who had come out. That was all seniors who had come out. A few of them had taken part in the program last year, and then there were some who were newcomers who hopped aboard in terms of the College Now program for this current school year. And it's been a great experience. I can speak to that and say I felt very privileged as an instructor. The students performed very well. And I had shared actually with Tri-Cities Board a few weeks ago that this is the only time ever since I began teaching in 2015, never had a late assignment, submitted. All of the students were very much on top of it. So I think that spoke volumes in the sense of how successful the program has been. And, it may be something that, looking a little bit further to evaluate first, but again, that included students who were just now beginning of the program this year. So we're talking their first semester, and all of them were on top of it. So again, great experience thus far.
I think what I would add too is we've had conversations with Superintendent Blandon is that the plan with these College Now programs that we have with the various schools where we have them is not to supplant the things that you guys are doing or the schools are doing with dual credit. That's working and it's working well. It's a great opportunity for students. This is to supplement that and to do it in an intentional way. As we looked at what Rochester is currently offering in dual credit, looking at what a plan might be then to supplement that with the College Now so that we could round out what's called the general education core curriculum. And whether students start at Lincoln Land, or they go to Illinois State University, or they go anywhere around the state of Illinois, the IAI, the Illinois Articulation Initiative, defines what that gen ed core curriculum is. And there's basically 5 categories. There's, the first one is communications, and that's required composition 1 and 2, which are offered via dual credit here at Riverton. And introduction, the Communication 101, the public speaking fundamentals class is in that. And then there's a social science requirement with 9 credit hours, arts and humanities requirement for 9 credit hours, math requirement 3 to 4 credit hours depending on whether they're STEM or non-STEM, and then 8 to 9-ish credit hours, again depending on the STEM focus or the sciences. They have to have life science and physical science. Riverton offers the life science rather, with the Bio 101 through dual credit. So as we look at, again, future, how we might expand that, we would look at how we can incorporate physical science into that, because that's not currently offered as an option for the folks at the students at Riverton. And then the final category is electives, and that's where it kind of gets into more specifics depending on what the student's major is. If they're wanting to be a business major, for example, maybe taking economics and extra math, accounting, and some of those kinds of classes. And so the vision, I think, would be, again, down the road, is working with students early on as they're entering that program and really helping kind of customize it and design it to better meet what their needs are for their majors. But all of the classes that we're introducing into this fulfill those general education requirements in social sciences, arts and humanities, communications, in those kinds of areas. So we're trying to be very intentional with that so that students are taking the right classes to get them set up, regardless of where they go in Illinois, hopefully, to complete their remaining degree requirements that they would have when they're all done. That was it. Oh, yeah, so what questions or additional information might be helpful to you are, or I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add?
You know, the only thing that I would mention, and I believe I've spoken to the board about this, is I don't have data to support this, but through empirical evidence, we have had several students that I know of that have not been successful in college, that have graduated from Riverton, and have gone on to do something else. And so our feeling is if we can support them with our counselors, with our administration, with our teachers, with everybody that we have in place while they're in high school, in their endeavors for higher education, we think they can be more successful. Now, obviously, I don't have any data to support that other than what I know about how we do as a school and how we can support kids. And I truly believe that by offering them this opportunity and getting them engaged in college life while they're with us, we can really do some good for our community.
I would agree, and we hear that from our students that are in these programs about it sort of being a soft transition. Instead of, leaving high school and they had this very sort of structured, high school's very structured experience, to this very non-structured experience with high expectations and high stakes, financially and otherwise. And so it's that sort of soft introduction where, they're getting to transition, they're getting to experience those high expectations, but there's also high support, not only at college where we're at, but through the high school as well. And so it is sort of that safe-ish environment for them to transition from being a high school student to understanding what it means to be a college student. And so it is, I think, a good way to address that transition because so many students aren't prepared. One of my jobs at Lincoln Land, I don't do it as much anymore, I have some other staff that are handling it, but I worked with students who were on multiple suspension academically, so this was academic related. And I would say probably 95% of the time, it was not because of their academic ability, ever. It was about all the other stuff that got in the way. Many of them were young students, traditional age students, that couldn't handle coursework, changing expectations, work, all the things then in this kind of unscheduled environment, and things kind of went awry quickly for them. And so these kinds of programs help ease into that experience so that hopefully they are more successful when they get there.
And I think just the fact that it's designed to offer 2 courses each semester is much more manageable than students graduating. All of a sudden they're working a full-time job, additional responsibilities that we all kind of, get our face towards as we graduated from high school. But trying to take on that along with 4, 5, 6 college classes can sometimes be overwhelming for students, as they enter into that realm beyond high school. So 2 courses is, in my opinion, really manageable.
We've had a lot of success. Rochester is our biggest program that's happening on the Springfield campus. They come out every afternoon, Monday through Friday, and spend a couple hours with us in 2 classes, just like we're proposing for Riverton, what we've discussed. And they're all doing very well. As Patrick mentioned, not just in his class, what I've heard from other instructors in the program is that they show up, they're engaged, they turn in their homework, and they're having a really good experience, and so they're really engaged in it, and they're just kind of getting again that kind of support, and so we're seeing good success. Those students are getting C's and higher in those classes, and they're coming back. Rochester has juniors and seniors in the program, and so we're seeing them come back for that senior year, and they're completing 24 credit hours with us in those junior and senior years on top of any dual credit that they're earning here at Rochester High School. So we are seeing success academically in the program for those students, and so we do know that is working, that they are taking it seriously, and they're engaged, and we have, like I said, instructors that teach in the program. I wish they could teach them all the time because they're far more engaged than some of our other students that they work with on campus. So.
Will they just be with high school students or will they be with college students?
It depends. We have both models that we run. With the Rochester program, because it's so large, we have 129, 130 students in that program right now. Yeah, it's a lot.
That's from 73.
Yeah, 73 first year to 130 this year. Yeah. They went big. So they thought when they were initially planning, they were gonna have about 20 students. And we had 70, and then we jumped to 130. So for that program, because it's so big, we have enough to have dedicated sections. In some of our other programs, like Mount Olive and some of the ones that are kind of down in the southern part of our district where we have some of that, we don't have enough to have dedicated section. So they're kind of commingled with other students. Both models work. I think there's value in both. You know, when we have dedicated sections, everybody's kind of on the same schedule and doing the same thing. They're arriving, they're leaving, they know people, they have that sort of cohort kind of feel. But when they're commingled with other students that are there, just kind of regular students, whatever that means, regular students, then they're more like regular students, right? It's not just an extension of high school, it's you know, a more kind of real, I guess, experience. So, so we have both examples, so it would just depend on, you know, how many students we end up with and what we're able to kind of make work. But based on what we've kind of estimated, we think probably there's enough from Riverton that would be eligible and be interested in taking part in this kind of program that probably dedicated sections. Possibly mixed with Tri-City. They're also considering this, and so it's based on schedules and the kinds of classes that we're considering. We think there's probably enough to kind of mix those two schools, but not commingled with other sort of regular type students. Yeah, great question.
You spoke to the fact of Rochester offering their courses to juniors and seniors and having the potential for 24 credit hours.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect scholarship opportunities? Are they viewed as a transfer student and no longer an incoming freshman?
They are. But there are transfer scholarships. And so we encourage students, again, with Rochester, and they're getting 24 credits through the College Now program, plus credits at the high school. So they're upwards of at least half, if not 3/4 of the way to an associate's degree by the time they're finishing that program. So we're encouraging them to finish their associate's degree because there are more scholarships if students do that and transfer than transfer without a degree. So we do encourage students, and again, that's where we kind of incorporate some of this idea of student success coaching and working with students to think about what's next while they're part of this program, so that they understand those kinds of things.
So is the big difference between first semester and college now is that you don't have to necessarily, obviously the first semester you have to be graduated and complete all of your requirements.
Yeah, the first semester programs, and we're kind of phasing those out, quite honestly, because it's hard for us to staff them. And that, I mean, that's just, it's a logistics issue for us with those programs. But yeah, so those are high school students that have finished all of their high school requirements, usually by December, and then in that spring semester, they're taking what would traditionally be a first semester as a college student.
So you talk about like the student success, the student tutors, the TRIO program you were talking about. I know those are available for your general students,
Sure.
but in this College Now, it's more you specifically promote that to this group of kids so they have that ability.
Yeah, so we do an orientation for them, a specific one, and we talk with them about all those resources and kind of treat them just like we do all of our other incoming students, and kind of introduce them like, here's the Center for Academic Success and the Writing Center and the Math Center and the Science Center and all these kinds of things. Here's how you use it. And then we hope that they do, right? And that's where we also then work with the high schools and their counselors and things like that. Be like, make sure you remind your students, go take advantage of that free tutoring. And so we do encourage them to do those kinds of things. Again, because they're in high school and they're so scheduled, it kind of depends on what their schedule is, how much they can take advantage of some of those things. But we do encourage that and support that. We have some online resources, we have some online tutoring and things, again, we kind of share with them and tell them about. But part of it's also that time management and figuring out how to get that in. But we do strongly encourage that and support that, and again, work with the high schools to help kind of convey that message as well.
Are we busing them, or is it self-transportation?
So we talked about a couple options. Mr. Lane thinks that we could bus them, but right now a lot of it is going to be contingent on how many kids actually sign up for the program.
That was my next question. Is there a minimum of kids that we have to have?
We have, to make the section run, we need about 12,
Okay.
depending on the class, 12, 13.
Okay.
We don't anticipate having any problem meeting those numbers, particularly between Riverton and Tri-City. So that's not an issue. for, various programs, like Taylorville, the programs down in Litchfield and Rochester. Students drive to campus. For the Rochester program, it's at the end of the day, later it's the afternoon. And so when they're done with us, they're done for the day, unless they have to go back for some sort of sports practice or Cayenne or something after school. So it would kind of depend. This program we're looking at in the morning, program would be like first hour-ish is what we're looking at. And so they would obviously be coming back to school, so it probably makes more sense to us in that sense.
One thing we don't want is for transportation to limit kids from being able to be in this program, so we figure out a way.
My next question was about, we talked a lot about financials. Is there financial support options available to the high school students?
No, so that is one of the challenges to these programs, is high school students, if they have not graduated from high school, they're not eligible for federal financial aid.
Okay.
And so that is one of the limiting factors, and that's why programs like Taylorville pays for, I think, a third or a half of their tuition, the students to go, and the students pay the other half. Rochester is basically paying full freight, they're paying the whole thing. I think students are paying $100 a class for that, so that they're paying a portion, but not a ton. There are some schools that do a reimbursement model, and we do have payment plans. So there's all kinds of options there.
Brad is shaking his
But
head
it
at
kind
me.
of depends on the school, and
You have a plan?
the city of Litchfield has a scholarship that they have set up, and high school students taking college classes while they're in high school are eligible for the scholarship. So there's all kinds of different things happening all across our 4,200 square miles of district with these programs.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You bet, our pleasure.
Thank you.
Agenda item 4, approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda of items 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5. Motion by Mr. Betts, second by Ms. Hartlob. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Couple?
Yes.
Ms. Hartlock?
Yes.
Ms. Rucker?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Reports, transportation report, any additions,
No addition?
any questions? Maintenance report,
No addition.
questions? Administrative reports, elementary school, any additions,
No additions.
questions?
I just have 2 comments, but I add 2 comments. Of course I do, right? So, I just wanted to say thank you to elementary school and to transportation and the parents mainly because of the new drop-off that seemed to go smoothly. So just wanted to put it on public record how fantastic that was. And then, also to, all the teachers that were listed with perfect attendance for the first quarter and the first semester. That was phenomenal. So at the high school and middle school, if you want to add those for your future reports, we'd gladly recognize them too, because perfect attendance of our teachers is amazing. So,
Middle school,
I don't have anything.
comments, questions? High school? Comments, questions?
I do have a question. On the blended learning that Mr. Moore listed, he said that 7 kids did it in the first semester and 10 are doing it in the second semester. Is part of that 7, is that 7 in that 10, or
Yeah,
is it
in addition.
in addition to, so those 7 came back? That's fantastic. Thank you.
Mr. Gum? Questions? Activities report,
Nothing to add.
questions?
I do want to thank all the band for coming out to all the games, the choir. They sound really good at the middle school and the high school. And then, what else did I But and the dance team, I just wanna say how much having all the dancers this year, I think they probably doubled the amount of attendance at the middle school games, to be honest, so
Probably more than that even.
Yes, I mean, they bring grandma, grandpa,
Yep.
mom, dad, cousins,
Yep.
aunts, uncles, and you cannot find a seat. And I've not seen our middle school is packed, so I do wanna thank them as well. It's nice to have the extra funds and to see the support for athletes and, middle school.
Prevention initiative report?
I have nothing to add, but this is new for this month, and we'll continue it as we maintain the program.
Superintendent report?
I have nothing to add.
Any questions? Natalie, the student member report? Anything? Okay. Questions? Communications. Think anyone signed up? FOIA requests?
We have none.
Electronic communications?
We have none.
Other communications from the board? I just wanted to let the administrators know that the staff survey has been closed. I shut it down yesterday. I was on vacation this week, so I did it on Friday. I sent out the information to the board, want them to be able to have a chance to digest the information. And we'll discuss it at our February meeting, but I believe probably the overall census of the survey is we will share the data with the administrators. But the comments that were there, we're gonna keep them confidential, as we told the staff that this was a totally confidential survey. And then working together as a board, determine what are the top priorities that we see are in the district, and then kind of give an overall synopsis of the comments that were made, generalizing the categories, and then we'll go from there. But I think that's kind of, talked to a couple of board members, but not all of them, but we will discuss that in February. But just to let you know that that's kind of the plan moving forward, so.
A few things, because I missed them at the beginning when we did the highlights and recognition. I just wanted to thank Joe and everybody that had a hand in the luncheon, not Christmas, but the holiday luncheon. That was very lovely. She did a great job. And then also to make sure that the public puts January 27th on their calendar for the Stop the Bowl program that Jeb Brown and the administrators and Mr. Planin have been organizing and putting together with the sponsors. Our first step towards bullying and all of that, and it's going to be very good for everybody to be there. So January 27th.
Is that like during the day and then again in the evening another presentation?
Yeah, so they are, Mr. Kennan is going to present at the middle school at 9, the high school at 1, and then we'll be back in the evening at 7 to present to the community, and anybody's invited to those. We also, I actually got confirmation from 2 groups that'll be there as additional resources with our doors opening at 6 while the table's set up. I spoke with 2 of them.
And are those the same presentation, or are they like differently?
They'll be geared a little
aged?
different
Okay.
for age. I have not inquired about the evening one yet.
I think it's more geared probably towards older kids and students, and I was just curious. I mean, I wouldn't subject it to elementary
Right.
school,
Mhm.
no, some middle school, but.
I'll need a motion that the board approve the policy manual customization through the Illinois Association of School Boards at a cost of $6,200. Motion by Ms. Hartloff, second by Ms. Brown. Any discussion? Thank you.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
It's a lot.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Kuffel?
Yes.
Ms. Hartloff?
Yes.
Ms. Rudder?
Yes.
Mr. Beck?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. I need a motion that the board approve the activities officials compensation schedule. Motion by Ms. Rudder, second by Ms. Brown. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Kuffel?
Yes.
Ms. Hartloff?
Yes.
Ms. Rudder?
Yes.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
need a motion that the board approve the educational support personnel seniority list. Motion by Ms. Churchill, second by Ms. Collins. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Cuffle?
Yes.
Ms. Hartloff?
Yes.
Ms. Rutter?
Yes.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. I'll need a motion that the board authorize the College Now program through Lincoln Land Community College for the 2020-2021 school year. Motion by Ms. Rutter, second by Ms. Hartloff. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Cuffle?
Yes.
Ms. Hartloff?
Yes.
Ms. Rutter?
Yes.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. I'll need a motion that the board approve the school maintenance project grant through the Illinois State Board of Education. Motion by Mr. Betts, second by Ms. Hartloff. Any discussion?
So this grant is a matching grant through the state that they will match up to $50,000 in funding towards a project. So what we have chosen for that will be our, I believe, our middle school roof for that, I guess, kind of a grant or rebate on that, assuming we get it.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Hartloff?
Yes.
Ms. Rutter?
Yes.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Cuffle?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. I need a motion that the board approve the daily rate increase for the alternate daily placement supervisor to $137 per day, retroactive to July 1, 2019. By Mr. Rutter, second by Ms. Collins. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Rutter?
Yes.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Cuffle?
Yes.
Ms. Hartloff?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Board reading, chapter 1.
Another good book.
This is good.
Yeah.
I like this one, I think, better than the last one even.
It like hooked me right away at the beginning when I
Okay.
started reading it.
They're just two different styles of books.
Well, very
between
much
the two.
so.
Like
So
this
for-
is.
I was just curious about your implementation plan with your staff, what that looks like and
So
how.
we're doing a book study, but it was completely voluntary, so I have about 13 teachers who are doing it with me right now. We're like 6 or 7 chapters in.
That's fantastic.
So what, so based on like the first chapter and how, you know, what this, how his impact of a baseball coach, you know, or I should lack thereof, what have you guys done different to try to, you know, captivate the students and make them feel as if they are an individual and each person matters? What is something that you guys have implemented? And you know,
We haven't really yet, simply because we just started the book study at the beginning of like maybe November.
oh, I thought you guys did in August. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, I read, no, yeah, we haven't got that far. I read the book, but we have just kind of started as a staff going into this.
Okay.
So we're not as far in, but I was recognizing all the similarities when you guys were talking about hack and discipline. I mean, obviously they talk different and
Yeah.
things are different, but a lot of the same ideas or ideals are kind of in between the two. I just like how he came from the gutter, kind of, you know? I mean, everybody had pretty much given up on him. I don't know if you're that far yet. I don't remember all the chapters. Are you that far yet?
Just one.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, really one.
You know what I'm talking about? How he had like a rough go there at the beginning? Do you know what I'm talking about? You're not there yet, sorry.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
Just
Only to
chapter
where he
one.
quit the baseball team.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry.
that's all he's mentioned so far.
I'm teaching ahead, apologies. But he had a rough go. If you haven't got there yet, you don't know, you would know what I'm talking about. And he rose from that to be a principal and to do all these other things after pretty much everybody had given up on him. So,
Well, this first chapter of the book, it fits right in line with the survey and stuff that we're taking and reflecting on, everyone just reflecting on themselves, us as board members, it was administrators, activities director, just being able to recognize, you know, if we need to do something differently or how people perceive us, and, you know, we have to be able to take criticism and learn to, you know, correct that type of stuff, so I think it I'm not saying anything needs to correct it, I'm just saying it.
Yeah, for
Personally,
sure,
as myself,
yeah.
you know how people
Yeah.
perceive you and stuff like that, so. Reflect on our own leadership styles, so.
I think it'll be really good to see it, and I think there's a lot, especially at the middle school age, where it's kind of the lost stage, and they're very confused because they have a lot of hormonal changes, and, you know, there's body issues, social issues, and it's a big adjustment, and to have a teacher have a profound effect, and have a building just uplifting and being positive, I think it can do a lot for the middle school. Middle school's rough.
School's rough. It's rough. It's the hardest.
Yes.
Every time I tell someone what I do, they're like, middle school, gosh, what's wrong with you?
Is the high school, the whole staff reading this book?
No.
Oh, I thought they were reading this
No.
time around. Anybody else?
I love that it says it's our responsibility to identify where average exists, and it's our obligation to change it, not to manage it. Like, it speaks to everyone in their life. It speaks to me at work. It's not, I just loved that, and that was one of my favorite pieces. And do your words inspire others for success or shame? Those were two of the greatest takeaways for me on this chapter. I really enjoyed this book so far. I think it's great.
Public hearing for FY '21 budget.
Yeah, so, we have, public hearing scheduled for January 29th. It'll be at the high school in the auditorium. The entire community is invited to come to this and present what they, would like to see from the schools going forward, and things that we could add for, next school year in particular. Mr. Gum and I have talked ahead of this, and we think we will put together a one-pager or some brief information about our current financial status, so those that are in attendance have some background information. And we're hoping to gain feedback and then use that as we go forward with our recommendations to the board for expenditure increases for next year, which we'll get to in February.
Are we gonna provide them with what we currently have slated to complete at that?
We
I mean,
can.
So that way they, I just thought it would be nice for some of the community to know what we already have slated.
We can, yeah.
I just think that might be beneficial. I mean, I know we know, but.
And I'd also like to
Doesn't.
encourage you guys in your information, send out to your staff, any memos or anything to encourage staff members to come to know what we're doing as well. It'd be a good opportunity for them to.
And the NG project,
The NG
we
project
talked
will be
about
there,
it at the
yeah.
committee as a whole, and how getting that word out to staff, as to the upgrades, especially, there's a lot of complaints about the bathrooms, and it's like, well, no, you should, like, we are, like, it's on, getting done
I've
this
been
summer.
sprinkling those things in.
I spoke with NG today, and once we have our initial payment and contract approved, they will do all that for us. We just need to get the ball rolling and.
We wanna get paid.
Yeah.
Almost there, I talked to
Yep,
Brenda about
almost
that
there.
today. Then we have, like, our contract is with the insurance company right now, looking over it, and then when they okay it, then it'll go to NG, correct? And we'll be able to
Okay.
finalize everything.
We are getting closer, yes. But I asked you a specific question regarding marketing and helping us promote it, and so yes, we will absolutely do that.
And then in February, you're presenting to us.
Correct, February 26th.
Any other business?
I do, so you all will be receiving an email from me about the superintendent evaluation, because we need to get that process, going. My question is that last year we sped up the timeline because we wanted to get it done before, the new board was seated, so that the old board had the chance to weigh in. I think we can meet that timeline again. I mean, technically, we don't have it done until July 1, but I think we can meet that timeline again. Is everybody okay if we get it done so that it could be presented in May, June-ish? Is everybody okay with that timeline? Pam, are you good with that? Does that work for you? Okay.
Whatever works for you guys.
So I'll be sending out an email with the timeline. What everybody needs to be thinking about is, and with the sample from last year, Eric and I will update it to match the new goals, because last year we didn't have any of those strategic goals set. We just kind of put together on what our plan was. So we'll make it match the strategic goals and with kind of some preliminary text in it. But then what you need to provide feedback is on if there are certain things that you want to be incorporated into that evaluation on Brad. And then our plan will be to get the preliminary one to you like March is a weird board meeting because of the way that it works, so maybe April we'll get it to you and then discuss results in May or June. But we want the final one approved in, I think, May is when we'll get the final full approved. But I'll send that out to everybody, but just be thinking about if there are certain things you want him to be evaluated on outside the strategic goals.
Anything else? I'll need a motion that the board vote to enter into executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, collective negotiation matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, whether for purpose approved by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 2.06.5 of ILCS 122C21 and student disciplinary cases. Motion by Ms. Brown, second by Mr. Betts. Roll call, please.
Mr. Betts?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes.
Ms. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Couple?
Yes.
Ms. Hartloff?
Yes.
And Ms. Rudder?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.